George Bernard Shaw said, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." If you look around you, would there be anyone in your household over 60 years old? Or if you are one, would you consider yourself old? Or is age just a number? Hello, everyone. My name is Gail Reyes Galang, and welcome to our peaceful classroom. Our peaceful classroom is a dedicated space where parents, educators, and other professionals come together to talk about ideas on how we may promote positivity and peace in the lives of our children and teens. According to the 2019 World Population Aging Report of the United Nations, population aging is a global phenomenon. They say that every country is experiencing growth both in size and in the proportion of older persons in the population. Here in the Philippines, the number of older people is increasing rapidly. The World Population Prospects 2019 projects that by the year 2050, older people will make up around 16.5% of the total population. It is without a doubt that the elderly will need our care and support. But even before we talk about the demand for increased healthcare or health services, let's get to know more about who the elderly are in the context of our society. Joining me today is Victoria Narciso Apuan, or Dr. Vicky Apuan to her many students. Dr. Vicky earned her PhD in Philippine Studies at the University of the Philippines. She retired as full professor from Miriam College, where she taught under the departments of Psychology, Social Sciences, Theology, and the Family Studies program, where she mentored graduate students as their chairperson. She has done several research commissioned by prestigious organizations such as Save the Children, UNICEF, as well as government agencies like the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the Department of Education. Dr. Vicky continues to engage with groups and communities that deal with the elderly, indigenous peoples, children and families, women and gender, including pastoral service and youth formation. She received awards for excellence in research from the University of the Philippines, Lourdes Lontoc Cruz Foundation, and Miriam College, where she was among those given the President's Award for Teaching Excellence. Join my conversation with Dr. Vicky Apuan today as we talk about who are the Filipino elderly. Hello, Dr. Vicky. Good day to you.
Hi. Good
It's so nice to
afternoon.
see you, even
Oo
if
nga.
we're only seeing each
Virtual.
other virtually.
Yeah, hi.
So, Dr. Vicky, today we're going to talk about a very important group in our society, our elderly. And
Yes.
we want to know who are the elderly, who are the Filipino elderly in our society. So let's
Yes.
begin.
Yes. Okay. So, for us teachers, we are familiar with the elderly. Why? Because in our own families, let's look around. Who are we with? For those of us who are young parents, maybe we're still seeing the children all the time. But because of the pandemic, we are far from our parents, or because of the pandemic, they have moved in with us because of their own particular needs. So either they're invisible, you don't see them. When we go to communities, because of our nature as teachers, we always see the young or the mothers. But when you go house to house, you really see that there are old people there.
When
On
you
the
say
other hand,
old
it's
people, Dr. Vicky, how old would be your
old.
definition of the elderly?
Well, I'll be technical. The United Nations considers 60 years old and above as elderly. Yes. And then, on the other hand, if you watch TV, especially starting the pandemic, you see a lot of footage on TV about old people complaining that they were not allowed to go out, not allowed to go to the grocery, to the banks. It's only been a few months ago that they were allowed to already leave the
Maybe
house.
because they feel that they're still very strong and able. Because 60 is
Yes.
not really old. They can still do a lot
Oo.
of things. And many people are
Espe-
even on the top of their career at age 60.
yes. If you go to churches, to those who go for daily mass are still the elderly and they walk to church. They're strong. And that's why they really felt so bad when they were not allowed. It's only very few that are really bedridden. Or they will say, may gamot ako pero I take naman my medicine, so why should I be restricted? But now, slowly, even the groceries have signs now na welcome back, senior citizens. We're happy to see you again. So masaya na sila. Pero
And
syempre,
they need
bawal pa
that
rin sa mall.
exercise so to be able to move around and to
Yes.
be able to see other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think, even before we have elderly who are more physically fit than those of us who are always in the office seated down and doing
Yes.
very
Uh-uh.
monotonous sedentary work.
Yes. Especially if they started eating healthy since they were young. Before the fast food age, a lot of our senior citizens didn't really indulge in fatty foods. No, they ate very healthy foods. That's why they're healthy up to now. But the teachers, for example, us, we grew up with fast foods, so we might have all this hypertension or diabetes, etc. So here they are. If you look at them, so masaya,
The many
bonita,
faces of
no?
our elderly.
Yeah, so and you'll notice here, no, the lines on their faces. But these are the people who don't care because they are happy. But those that are sick, of course, they're always worried, especially during the pandemic, if they will have enough to buy their medicines, if their children will still be at work to support them in their needs.
And somehow,
But
Dr. Vicky, the disposition will show in their face. If they are happy, their face is more radiant. But if life
uh,
has been hard for them, then it will
yes,
also show in the expressions in their face.
yes. Uh, Elderly people, they want to be useful. That's why the picture of Lolo, no, caring for a grandchild is a happy picture. And many Lolas are unpaid yayas. No? They happily take care of their
Yes, and we
grandchildren.
depend
They
a
call
lot
it,
on them to take
yeah.
care of our kids while we are busy at work.
And their attitude is apostolate. May apostolate ako. I take care of my
And I'm
apos.
sure they look forward to that, and that is
Ah,
something that they enjoy doing.
yes,
I
they
don't
do.
think they would consider it as work, but they would
And,
consider it
uh,
as a happy thing for them to do.
yeah, as long as meron pa isa pang tutulong sa kanila because it's hard to run after a toddler when you're old.
Yes.
But to oversee somebody taking care, they'll be happy about that. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at
So, how
the
many
graph.
are they, Dr. Vicky?
Well, they're 9.5% of our population. If you see a graph that describes the population and it's like a triangle, it means that the majority of Filipinos are still young, which means they're
Still very
under
young.
35. Yeah, under 35. But
Okay.
but we must note that they are the fastest growing sector of our population. In other words, because of education and medication, no, people are growing older. Our national average is
And they're living
uh,
longer.
yeah. So for men, the national average is 67. For women, it's 72. Now, if you compare that to Japan, Japan has a higher uh, rate of old people. But for us, it really says something that we can still be very productive up to those ages.
Yep.
So we are really getting interested in trying to see how do we respond to this growing population of old people.
So if they are growing naturally, they will have a lot of needs.
Yes.
Maybe needs
And that,
from their own family and from
yes,
the community.
yes, for the government. And
Yes.
the Philippine Constitution really is very clear that it's the family who should be the main uh, institution to take care of old people. So the government just intends to supplement what the family can provide. That's why we have the Office for Senior Citizens Affairs and all the discounts that they have given us.
But when we help our elderly, it's like a mind shift because we're used to having them helping us. We
Yes,
rely on them for so many things, to
yes,
a point where we cannot really function well without their assistance. But then
yes,
again, there comes a point in time when the roles will reverse. And
yes,
little by little, you will find yourselves having to take care of your own parents or your grandparents in the house.
yes.
That would be an adjustment for everybody.
The United Nations, in fact, declared 1999 as the International Year of Older Persons. What the United Nations wants is that every society educates its citizens to respond to citizens of all ages, so a society for all ages. In Asia, no, or here in the Philippines, it's not such a big problem because we're still very communal. No, we still live near each other, basically, or we like to see each other. But in highly industrialized countries, when people live far away from the old people, they might forget the needs of the old people. And then both Humphrey and Gandhi said the greatness of a nation can be judged by how it treats its weakest members. The weakest member are both the very young, no, infants, small children, and the very old, which are the elderly. But the elderly, they're not all weak. So there's a young elderly, and there's an old elderly, and there's a frail elderly. Marami pa rin young, very strong pa, malikot pa, no? Always wanting to go out. Then productive. And then there's the middle or a little old. And then, but of course, there are the frail. The frail people, they really are frail because they become blind, or they have a heart attack, they have hypertension, or and they're bedridden. But that's few. But for COVID, no, during this pandemic, the government was very strict about that because in the early days, most of those who died were the old people because they had all these weaknesses and low immunity. So we say we need to take care of the old and we need to prolong their lives. So much so because they're a resource. No, they're not a burden. They shouldn't be seen as a
Yes.
burden, but a resource because of their wisdom.
And they can help us with much, much more. As you said, with their wisdom or um, with their advice on how to go about things. Okay. So
Yes.
okay, let's go to the next one. Okay. Let's talk about our teachers because
Yes.
um, the teachers come from various ages. Some of them are young, or some of them are middle aged. Some of them are all also approaching their senior years, and they are within families who probably also have the elderly in them. So, Dr. Vicky, how would the
Yeah, so let's see. No, no. Many teachers are in the age between 30 and 50, right? When you're in this age range, you are called the people of the sandwich generation. Because on one hand, you're taking care of your children if you're married. But on the other hand, you also have to take care of your aging parents. So I know of many teachers who come to school quite harassed if the needs of both children and aging parents are heightened at the same time. No, suppose your young children need you for this, and then your mother or father begins to need you for another thing, and you only have limited time, you have limited resources, so sometimes you get harassed. So that's the
So that's
sandwich
just like a
generation.
sandwich. So the
Yeah.
taking care of the
Um,
parents, taking care of the
yeah.
children, and
Yeah.
you are in
Yeah.
between, having to take
Yes.
care of both.
Yes, and you feel pulled, no? Hindi, parang naiipit ka sa kanilang dalawa. So, you have to find the balance of responding to both. But of course, we also have co-teachers that are single. Hello, no? Single teachers. And your married siblings say, ikaw yung dalaga, ikaw alaga kay mommy. Okay, or kay daddy. And then you say, bakit ako lagi, no? But I do know of many teachers who decided not to marry eventually because they were very caring for their old people, no? Especially if their parents got sick early in their life or if their married siblings moved away from their parents. No? So some of us teachers are in that situation.
Maybe that becomes their commitment to take care of their parents
Yes.
on
Yes.
behalf of everyone in the family.
Yes. I'm sure that's in our faculty room. That's quite a number already. And they're happy about it. No? At least that maasahan sila. And then for those of us that are 50 and over, well, looking forward to retirement in a way, we might already be considering ourselves, ay, tumatanda na ako. For example, you wake up in the morning and when you step on the floor, sakit yung tuhod mo, or you have a hard time with your hands, and you're not as strong as you used to be. That's why we have to be more aware about our own situation. That's why many programs are advised, no, are being recommended for us to prepare for aging. So I always have this nice exercise. 10 years ago, maalaala mo ba? How fast could you walk? Okay, teachers, especially those in the elementary, no? Aba, nung bata ako, mahahabol ko sila lahat. Or during calisthenics, I can join the young people in all the exercises. Okay, so physically. And then you were slimmer, of course, no? You were very sprightly. And that's why usually the young teachers, they are really assigned to the younger students because they can move fast. So physically,
Yes, physically.
10 years ago, mabilis ka pa. And then, as you grow older, you don't walk as fast. Or going up the stairs now is not as easy as it used to be. Okay? Then for those of us who are in their 50s, it's no longer going up the stairs, one, two, three, four. It's now one, two, stop. Three, four, stop. No? So trying to be careful. Especially after you've had a fall. Many people, they say, kala ko hindi pa ako matanda and nadapa, natison, out of balance. Or going down the jeep, no? Or tricycle, sakit. Hindi na kasing uh, dali nung dati. So
Sometimes
physically,
you
there's
already experience some pain in your body, no? Maybe your legs or your feet, your
mhm.
ankles, they start to ache before it was never an issue. So those are
Oo.
signs of aging.
Kaya best friend natin ngayon, Bengay, efficacent, okay? Yung white flour, all those liniments that we put on our bodies to make us feel better. Yes. And then in the faculty room, everybody's exchanging. Ay, you drink this. Oh, this is a nice thing, a nice tea that you can drink to make you feel better. So that's it. Physically, Intellectually, okay, uh, do you find yourself having to read something twice or three times before it sinks in? Unlike when you were younger, it was so easy. You could read books, could finish a book in 2 days.
Longer
No?
time to absorb as you get
Yes.
older.
And
Also
napupuy mo na.
forgetting a
Oo.
lot of things, like you're already thinking about it but you can't seem to say what you really mean.
Or the students laugh at you when the teacher says, class, yung salamin ko, nakita nyo ba? And then they point to her and it's there pala, either on top of her head or, on her blouse. No? Ay, si ma'am! Okay? And then remember before, you could check papers so fast. No, you could finish how many
Yes.
batches of test papers in 1 or 2 hours. Pero now you say, get tired more easily. Sige,
I
break
noticed
muna.
also like forgetting names. Like you know
Mm,
the person, but sometimes you can't associate where did you meet this person, or you
yes.
can't seem to think of the name at that right moment.
At the before the pandemic, the mall, no, you meet a lot of your students and they say, "Ma'am, remember me?" And then you say, yes, but you have to help me with your name. But I remember your
Yes.
face, So we have that. But we for those of you teachers that are taking your masters or your doctoral studies, you do know that it's not so easy nowadays, no? Because what you could grasp so much easier before, it takes you longer now. So we always advise our students, MA, PhD students, try to take those advanced degrees when a little younger. Because when you're already middle aged or older, it takes you longer to process. And of course, your
Especially
concentration.
now that you need a lot of things done, maybe through
Yeah,
the internet or by using the gadget. Sometimes it takes
yeah,
a while for the elderly to adjust, but they are able to participate in social media.
yes.
They're very active.
Yeah, if they learn how to manage technical things, no, they
Yes.
say we're not digital natives, but we can migrate. No, we can be migrants. Then psycho emotionally, they say, "Kau naman kabata-bata mo na, pero para kang matanda, sungit mo na ha." And then said, "Oh, masungit na ako." Medyo ganon. So psycho emotionally, when we get older, it's because of our health. No? We are not as patient as we used to be because we get tired more easily. So our resistance to noise. So for example, when you're much younger, the children are noisy. Well, okay, that's being young, but later on, you begin to be a little more sensitive to noise, and for our students who live with lolas and lolos, they say the kasungitan, or the masungit lolo lola, is because the children are noisy, or if the radio playing their music is loud. Okay, so psycho-emotionally, we can say unless you learn how to manage your stress, you tend to be more masungit as you age,
And
and
also a
it's
bit more
okay.
sensitive.
Yeah.
For example, what will come out as a joke for everybody becomes something that is
Personal.
taken with offense,
Yes.
or sometimes
Just,
our elderly, they say things because they're also very direct, and which is
yes.
misinterpreted by the young.
Yes.
And it's sad if sometimes they get into that kind of conflict because it's
Yeah,
unnecessary.
I always tell students, si Lola at si Lola, they've been through a lot in life, and you know, don't misinterpret them when they're either too silent or too angry, right? Because the others, pag galit na, nagwi-withdraw na lang, maalis na lang, nagtatago sa kwarto. On the other hand, the others, become noisy, they nag, they make sermon, and more sermon. No? So I always tell the children, you be patient with them. And of course, that hanapin ng kiliti. Each of us in the faculty has to have a best friend who, when we're not feeling well, can interpret our actions to others, who can tell others, well, she's undergoing this thing or that. Now, for young people, it's paano mo hahanapin yung kiliti. Okay? So we have to manage ourselves, our health, our emotions, and our environment so that it helps people who are undergoing some sort of process in their aging cycle. Financially, okay, when you're young, you're really driven to earn. Why? Because you have so many responsibilities and you're preparing for the future. And everything seems so important. And it's really been seen that if you're not prepared for your old age, you will suffer. Unless there is a very supportive family, you need to prepare for your old age. So have some savings.
Yes.
Get a pension plan or insurance plan. Now, for those in the public sector, you have the GSIS. Okay, that's fine. That's why they say stay in a job so that you can have pension. And then, of course, now it's pandemic. You realize that you have so many clothes. You realize you have so many things. Why? Because we're home based. We don't need as many as clothes or accessories as we used to shoes, right? So it's good that now that we're being given a taste of what it is to be simple, let's simplify and need and see, gagastos ba ako o itatabi ko na lang.
Yeah, they have
And
to
then of
be
course
sure that
spiritually,
you have
uh,
you have enough money to enjoy, because sometimes as elderly you're so generous, you always want to give to your children, to a certain point that you don't have
but
anything anymore for yourself, or you don't want to enjoy what you worked hard for.
yes,
So I think part of what you've earned should really be for yourself, for your future when you get old, so you can splurge if you can.
it's good because one of our sessions was on financial management, right? We just had that. Remember,
Yes.
we had the session on financial management preparing. I think you should review that. And then lastly is the aspect of spiritually. We have to prepare. And one of the insights that I gained when I was studying about the elderly was the need to forgive. Let bygones be bygones. I interviewed some people that were due to retire and galit pa sila doon sa kaaway nila 10 years ago. I mean, what a burden to bring to your old age, no? There are certain things in life that we cannot change and we just have to let go.
You have to
No?
travel
So,
light when you get older.
yeah,
Travel light by not bringing a lot of those burdens with you. And you can release it by forgiving,
yeah.
as you said.
So, okay, yeah, yes. And then philosophically, you look at an event or a person in your life and you say, okay, if it wasn't a pleasant experience being with that person, maybe that person was just meant to be with me, what, for a season, for a short period, or for a lesson. What did that person teach me despite the pain that I experienced with that person? Ano yung natutunan ko? So we have to let go of things and people that do not need to be with us in our old age. Yeah, as you said, travel light. So you can still do something. You can still prepare, because the best way to prepare for getting old is to be mindful of your issues. Okay. Now we
Yes, let's
work in
talk
schools.
about
I'm
how
sure.
to be successful
Yes.
in our in aging,
Well, aging process. I'm
in our
sure you have
aging
somebody you
process.
super admire. Yeah, you have someone that you really admire in the school. Okay, there must be somebody, a mentor, somebody who really helped you, who say, alam mo si ma'am, sa pagtanda niya, lalo siyang naging sweet, no? So, uh, you look at some people who, despite all their difficulties in their young age, they're still very pleasant. Or, as we saw with many scientists, it was during their old age that they were able to invent what they invented, no? They're still creative. Or you have a neighbor that you pass by every day as you walk to school, who is always greeting you so nicely. Ay, pag hindi ko nakikita, parang hindi kompleto buhay ko, no? That cheerful neighbor says, good morning, have a nice day. Okay? Or we have celebrities who age gracefully. No? So who would you say? So try to think. sino sa kapaligiran mo, who in your environment is someone you can say, ay, that person is aging gracefully. Why? Because they're still productive. Even with their illnesses, they're happy. They act with a sense of purpose. So they know why they are in life. Hindi kapit tuko sa posisyon, di ba? Ayaw na ayaw natin people who don't want to give up their positions. And they are still doing and engaging in new activities. No? So,
So these are the persons that you'd want to have as models in your life. So when
yeah.
you yourself age, you want to be that kind of person, have maybe some of his or her traits.
Yes. So if you want to be like that person, be like that person. I remember when I was in my 20s, I attended a seminar, and there was this senior citizen who looked so nice, no, physically, and uh, and then she was the facilitator, and she was so gracious and so nice. So I said, pagtanda ko, gusto ko katulad niya, no? And in fact, after the seminar, I told her, you know, ma'am, you're so inspiring. I told myself, uh, 40 to 50 years from now, I want to be like you. And indeed, no, I met her when she was older, and she was still so gracious. And I said, I didn't make a mistake in choosing a model for my old age. So kayo, you think about it. Most of you would say, syempre, your parents or your aunt or your boss that you love very much.
So
Yes.
we ask, would you like to be like them? And so
Yeah.
we try to make our lives at present close to how these people would have have lived their lives.
Uh, okay. So, what are the three things to remember to successful aging? Number one, self awareness, knowing who I am and what I am still capable of. Self awareness always. And it's nice to keep a journal, no, a diary, where both in your happy and sad times you can write, because you can look back at that diary later on and say, oh, so these are the things I've been going through. Or you can see patterns in your feelings. Like some of us can just have an emotion meter. Today I am happy, sad, angry, worried. You know, you just hit one word, one word, one word. Then over 1 week, look at the 7 days. What was your predominant feeling? Okay.
Yes.
So, self-awareness. Pag may nararamdaman, magkonsulta ha, ladies and gentlemen. It's so dangerous na palampasin mo, ay wala yun, wala yun. Okay, one of my sad experiences is a good friend of mine found out she had breast cancer. Okay, that was around July. And then I said, wala ka bang naramdaman? Meron. As early as when? April and May, I felt something. Hindi ka nagkonsulta? Hindi. Bakit? Denial. So by
Oh,
the time nagkonsulta siya, medyo ano na, she needed chemo already. No? And I said, you know, pag may naramdaman, magkonsulta. I always tell people, kung gusto mo magtipid, may health center. Now, because of the pandemic, meron ng e-consultation. No? You can
yes.
consult. There
Yes.
are facilities that have doctors online. So just consult. Okay? And then empathy. Okay? When we're not old, we tend to be arrogant. You say, ay, matanda na talaga, ay, masungit. You see, we label the old people for the negative things that they have shown us. But if we show empathy for them, it also helps us prepare for our own aging. If we can see what they're going through with a soft heart, compassionate heart, then pag tayo nasa lugar nila, mas kind tayo sa sarili natin. Kasi yung perfectionist among us, we don't want to show weakness, we don't want to show imperfections, we don't laugh at ourselves. Pero when we learn not to laugh at others because of what they're going through, or we see the older people laughing at themselves, it helps us prepare for our own aging. And that's
Yes.
why we went through that survey yesterday, just now. Holistic preparation, okay? Uh, Physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Don't wait to get sick before adopting a healthy diet. Okay. I ask people, when did you start eating less meat. Oh, kasi I had hypertension. Oh, why wait for
Only
that?
just before they have a checkup, that's the time they stop eating a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
oily food or a
yes.
lot of fried food just because they're going to have a checkup soon.
When I did my study on aging, the people I interviewed in their 60s who were not taking maintenance medicine yet had one thing in common. They were eating healthy as early as when they were in their 20s. In other words, they adopted a
Yes.
healthy lifestyle already.
Yes.
So, wala talaga silang naipon na bad toxic materials in their body unless there's a genetic predisposition. Now, if there's a genetic predisposition, maghanda ka na. Careful ka na. So, if there's diabetes in the family, iwasan na yung sweets.
At
So,
an early age.
yes, I think as teachers and as parents, we tell our students to look in their family tree and see what were the most common ailments of the old people in their family. Kasi pag na-identify yan, no? Oh, hypertension. Anong kinamatay ng mga matatanda? Okay? Or even yung alcoholism, no? If you see a lot of your relatives in the ascendant generation that were alcoholics, you must warn the younger members of your family to refrain from that, no? Because that the desire for alcohol, besides being a cultural thing, can also be a genetic thing.
So it would be wise to look at the patterns and
Yes, family
to
tree.
not let the children get used to eating junk food at an early age. Sometimes parents dismiss, okay lang yan, bata pa yan.
Hindi
But
talaga.
if they
Tsaka,
get into
yun yung
that kind of habit, it's very hard to remove that habit. For example, drinking soda,
exactly.
it's so hard to remove that when you're used to it. And then you get diabetes and all, and it'll be hard by the time to remove that. It would be sad.
I admire those schools that have adopted a no soda policy, no? So they stop
Yes.
selling. And that do not sell junk food. But, in the sari-sari store, that's the culprit eh. Lahat ng mura, junk. Piso, 5 piso, junk. So,
Dr.
empathy,
Vicky,
no?
how do
Yeah.
we practice empathy?
Yeah. I came across these beatitudes and it helps you establish them. Kung hindi ka pa matanda, you read it with uh, imagining that someone is old. Pero kung matanda ka na or growing old ka na, reaching 60 ka na, it's good to think about yourself. Maybe let's read it all together. Okay, so blessed are they who understand my faltering step and palsied hand. Blessed are
Blessed
they
are
who
they
know
who
that my
know
ears
that my
today
ears today must strain to
are
catch
trained to catch the
they
things they say.
say.
Blessed are they who seem to know that my eyes are dim and my wits are slow.
Blessed
Blessed are
are
they
they who looked
who
away
look
when
away
coffee
when
spilled
coffee.
at table
Okay.
today.
Blessed are they with a cheery smile who stop to chat for a little while. Blessed are
Blessed
they
are
who
they
never say,
who never
"You
say,
told that story twice today."
oh, guilty. I
Okay.
said that to my
Blessed are
dad.
they who know the ways to bring back memories of yesterdays.
Yes.
So, remember when, di ba? Blessed are they who make it known that I'm loved and respected and not
I'm not
alone.
alone.
Blessed are they who know that I'm at a loss to find the strength to carry the cross. And then blessed are they who ease the days on my journey home in loving ways.
Oh,
Okay?
beautiful. This is really beautiful, Dr. Vicky.
Yeah, I know. Ever since I encountered this, I share it all the time. So, one by one, you look at these lines and say, alin dito ang na-touch ako, no? Yung parang I had to stay longer on that line because it meant something to me or I remembered somebody.
Resonated with that line.
Yeah. So who do I remember? Okay. Like, when we're raising small children and they are clumsy, they say, bata yan eh. Di ba? We don't
Yes.
make a big thing out of it. We don't punish them. okay, for dropping a glass or spilling their milk or whatever. But an old person, you sometimes don't realize that their reflexes are not as fast. So why scold them when they drop something? And then old people, because of the pandemic, most old people are at home nowadays. No? So they'll be aging at home. So they'll be making kwento and kwento about their past. Listen ka lang ng listen. And if you've heard it 10 times, go ahead, laugh at the same things because that's important to them. Okay? And then, especially when they're sick and frail, how to be patient. Because although parents can sometimes be unpleasant when they're not feeling well, you'd be really so sad once they're gone. And that unpleasant person that you thought was unpleasant is not even there anymore. So it's always telling yourself, okay, this person is the one who brought me to the world, the one who tried his or her best to make me successful in what I am. So this is my payback. So for those of you who are touched by one or two or more of the lines, it means there is an invitation. The universe is sending an invitation to do something differently or to start something to help old people have better lives or for yourself to prepare for a better aging process. And that's why the
Is that sometimes, Dr. Vicky,
yeah,
we tend to be very busy and we accomplish so many things, and then we forget, to get in touch with our parents if they don't live with you, or if they live with you, we really don't have that quality conversation because we're always in a hurry or you have a task to do. And then, you know sometimes if they're not with you, they're just a phone call away, or um, and then you lose that chance, especially now in the pandemic. The time seems to be running very fast, and
yes,
if you think about it, that's time stolen away from you and the person that you love.
yes. Uh, isang kaugalian sa Filipino families na pag may milestone yung magulang, big party. Dati, no, before pre-pandemic. And that's when they heap all the praises and everything. But I think old people would be more appreciative of the more daily appreciation, acts of kindness that we show them rather than a big party that, we make them king or queen for a day. But mas maganda yung you're more mindful, you're more aware that there is a way of really showing your appreciation. Okay, look at these next pictures. Oh, tingnan mo yung mga women. I must warn you, teachers and parents, that all over the world, the women outlive the men. Okay, for some reason, women live longer than men. Okay, so if your spouse is still alive, your husband is still alive, even in your old age, it's really a big gift. Okay, so it's how to age gracefully together. No? So, uh, as the poet Browning said, "Well, grow old along with me. The best is yet to be," and that's it. No, there are seminars and retreats on midlife and aging. That for those of you who are interested, we can refer you to some where you can really prepare in a psychological, spiritual way for the experience of aging. Because indeed, they say aging should be something you look forward to because it's supposed to bring out the best in you further. Why? Because now you're more wise, you are more in touch with yourself, and God gives you the grace to meet this. The Bible is filled with sayings that tell people that it's okay to grow old, and God gives you the grace when you as you grow old. And if you treat old people nicely, you will be rewarded in your old age. You will also be treated nicely. Okay, so it's something to look forward to. So even if we're still young, starting our careers, or we're already in the middle of our careers, or we're already towards the end of our careers as teachers, there's still so much to learn. And that's why this series that we're sharing with you is to really help you prepare better for life. in the end, it's not just to be a better teacher, it's not just to have a peaceful classroom or a peaceful society, but it's also to be happier as we grow old together.
Yes, Dr. Vicky. So if there's one thing that we learned today, it's identifying who are elderly around us, not only identifying, but being aware that they are
Yes.
here. And though they have been maybe very active in their past, maybe they need us in a different way now. And we shouldn't really be too busy to recognize that they need us this time, and time is running short, and we must grab every time and opportunity, and there are many ways to show this, and I think in your next sessions, Dr. Vicky, you will
Yes.
show different
Yes.
ways of how we may show this love to our elderly. So thank you, Dr. Vicky.
Yes. My pleasure.
Okay, and we hope to see you again soon in our
Yes. The next
peaceful
session.
classroom. Thank you. Dr. Vicky emphasized that the elderly people need care and comfort so that they could lead the rest of their lives without too many worries or anxieties, especially over the pandemic. Though their physical bodies may have not been as strong as they used to be, many families consider the elder members of their families as good providers of support in raising their respective families. Though the elderly in rural communities may feel more hard up than the more affluent elderly, the close knit family system and a deep sense of spiritual well being allow them to go through life's trials with a relatively positive outlook in life. Up next, Dr. Anne Marie Baradi shares her thoughts on how to age gracefully. Dr. Anne Baradi has a PhD in Child and Family Studies from Miriam College, and prior to this, a master's degree in Educational Management from the Ateneo de Manila University. Before moving to San Francisco, USA with her family, she was project manager for Miriam College New Valley. She continues her affiliations with the Association of Private School Administrators, Zonta International, and her Marinal College class of 1981, this year's College Ruby Jubilarians. Let us all listen to Dr. Anne Baradi as she shares her 12 tips on graceful aging.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you my thoughts and feelings as I aspire to age gracefully. As you know, moving to this next stage in my life has been quite a challenge, but that is what changes is really all about. As I move on, I try to come up with 12 things that will help me in the process of accepting this new chapter in my life. Let me begin. First, I try to greet each day with a grateful heart. I wake up in the morning looking up into the sky, into the sunshine, and I thank, oh my God, thank you for this new day, for a new me that I will try to be better than yesterday, and that I am thankful for the people around me. Then number two, I think positively, and I try to be cheerful. Now, who wants to have an ogre around or a cranky old woman? And so I figured I had grandparents around. I had nasty grandparents who always scolded me, and yet I had a grandparent that was so cheerful and always happy. Now I thought to myself, would I want to be that grandmother? To be that kind of a woman that people will remember happy and cheerful? I think so. And so when there are times I don't really feel well or I feel kind of depressed, I try to snap out of it and think, hey, God is good. Life is good. And I breathe in and savor that life. Number 3, I try to find meaning and new purpose in my life. My husband passed away not 9 months ago, and suddenly I found myself alone. My 2 kids are married, one here in the States, the other in the Philippines, and I go, what am I going to do now? With this pandemic and lockdown, there's no way I can go and give lectures as I normally do. I did corporate lecturing for a couple of bus companies and corporations. But it seems that that is not possible for this time. And so I said, my role now is to be the grandmother to my new grandchildren. I have from 6 months old to 16 years old. And what do I want them to remember me? Do I want them to remember me as the fun grandmother? I think so. And so right now I find myself looking at it, and that is my role. That is my purpose. But many times I think, well, what have I been doing lately? Have I been reading books? Yes, I started picking up my books again and watching my K-drama and just simply enjoying the time that I have. Number 4, I think we should value and respect the people around us and giving them the importance. I remember my grandfather, who was so cranky at one time. He did not appreciate the people around him, the very people that was helping him. And I told myself, I don't think I want to be that. I want to be remembered as one who was always appreciative of people and valuing them and thanking them. And so I told myself, number 5, not to worry and simply be happy. Be cheerful. Life is beautiful. And what is there to worry about? Illnesses? Well, there are new remedies and people do live up to 100. And so I will leave it up to the medicines and the doctors. But of course, number 7 will say, take care of our body, not for vanity's sake, but for medicinal, for valuing yourself. And so I take care of myself by exercising, dressing up, being happy, and I take my medicine religiously, which is our number 8. But more importantly, I make sure that I pick up a new sport. I used to play tennis, but when my tennis partner left for the States, and with this lockdown, my daughter and I have started doing tennis and potting in the golf course, or simply go hiking. Or here at home, I do climb the stairs, go up and down, just to make sure that, I'm not a couch potato, as I sometimes find myself. But I limit my watching TV at night because I take the time to spend it with my grandchildren. And yes, I do play with them. I want them to remember me as one who plays Minecraft or catchball or badminton. We try to do outdoor sports as much as possible. And so I go back to number 9. Watch your diet. I have maintained my diet at 115, sometimes 112, but I find that too thin for me. I'm careful with what I eat. I don't eat meat every day. I limit it to just the weekend, which I look at it as a time when I can binge, right? And I don't eat cake or ice cream as often, which is maybe once every 2 weeks. I watch what I eat because I don't want to get too heavy that I cannot move. Sometimes I wake up in the morning when my arms are like tingling because I slept on it, and I tell myself, oh my gosh, did I gain weight again? So I try to do my exercise, and I try to cut down my carbs. I love bread, my ensaymada, my mamon, and halo-halo. Yesterday, my daughter gave me halo-halo, and I go, once in a blue moon. Yep. And then for number 10, I think I have to learn to keep my opinions to myself. There are things that happen in life, like the past election, but that's my opinion. If I like this candidate over the other, others may choose the other candidate. So I just keep quiet. If they ask me my opinion, I'll give it. But unless it is asked, I don't open my mouth on that. I also try to have my advices to myself. Why? Unsolicited advice is not welcome. And sometimes I find myself in the way my children, let's say, handle the discipline at home. And it's not my style of discipline, but hey, my time is up. It's not for me to discipline the grandchildren. And so I try to keep quiet. I try to keep that advice to myself, unless asked. Unless asked. And so for my number 11, I think I should be quick to love. I should be quick to embrace, embrace my grandchildren, embrace my daughter, my son, to embrace my friends. And I should be quick to praise, to say good things. My mother always said, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. I also be quick to forgive, be quick to say please and thank you. And lastly, which I learned from my sister, to share your blessings. Be generous. What good is it when your children will inherit the money when you're done, when you're dead? Don't you want to see them happy now? And so I thought, yes, why not? Sometimes I'm like a doting grandmother when my grandson says, Granny, can you buy this for me? And I'm so quick to say, yes, okay, let's buy it. And the mom tells me, Mom, there's no occasion, don't do it. But I do want them to remember me as one who's generous and giving, because that's what life is about. I don't want them to enjoy it when I'm done and gone. I want to see them happy in receiving my generosity. And so I think that's what it is, what it means to age gracefully, to be cheerful and thankful, and to thank God each day. Because for me, being prayerful is being hopeful. Leave it up to God. We cannot handle most of our problems, maybe because it's not for us to handle. So we leave it to God and thank God each day. And so I thank you, and I hope you learned a little something from my experience. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Anne, for those very interesting tips. Though we cannot escape aging, start preparing for this inevitable chapter by doing whatever it takes to help you age gracefully. Some do it through supervised exercise, healthy diet, getting enough sleep, and hydrating well. But to live longer, a study from Yale University suggests that people who viewed aging positively lived 7.5 years longer than those who approached it with a negative attitude. And finally, let's take care of our elderly and all the vulnerable members of our society. Let us remember these words from Hubert Humphrey. He said, and I quote, "The moral test of government is how that government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. And that's all we have for today. See you again in our sacred space, our peaceful classroom.